Just give me a.
I think that's it right there. I am subbed to you, so I should have an alert here. Yep, there it is. We're live.
Yeah. Usually, Chris, at the beginning of my shows like that, I usually will ask my co-host to not say anything because, like a while, and Rick was here when it happened on one of the times. Sometimes what will happen, there might be some audio issues between like StreamYard and YouTube. So to check that, what I do is once I go live, then I'll like ask, if I do have guests on with me, I'll ask them to just let me do something real quick, like say hi or something, just to make sure that because sometimes I've had situations where, and I've been told this after the fact, and I haven't picked up on it, that either the sound is not doing good or not coming through at all, and I won't even know it until like long after the fact. Long after.
Yeah.
So
the thing with that, and the hard part for you is because you don't have a setup where you can see your chat easy. People in your chat are usually telling you right away, but if you're not looking at your chat, you don't know they're telling you.
Well, yeah.
Well, and the thing was, I didn't know you went live. I was like just sitting here trying to fix my YouTube up. I was like, oh shoot.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I it was showtime, so all right. Well, so how are you guys doing tonight?
All right.
Okay.
A little tired or a lot tired. Haven't slept in
Rick,
over 24.
Rick, did you want to at least kind of give our audience a little update on what's going on with you? If you don't want to, I understand. It's totally up to you.
Well, for those that don't know, my mom died yesterday. Suddenly, I would say. And it was yesterday evening, so I didn't sleep all night. I haven't slept all day. I got like 30-second sleeps here and there. I'd be at the chair here watching something, and I'd nod off, snore, and wake myself up. Nah, I don't normally when I snore wake myself up, but so tomorrow I meet with the funeral director to find out exactly when the funeral will be, to plan that for later on this week. So that'll be about 2 p.m. my time, Eastern. So I guess that's about it for me to update.
If you guys can talk amongst yourselves for a moment, I forgot to do something. Rick knows I sometimes have to do that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, he forgot to mute his phone.
After these messages, he'll be right back.
Hey, that's my line. That's my line. Yeah, I usually say something like that. Hey, and there is a message. We are the message. I don't know what message we're bringing, but we are the message.
We are the crosstalk. Get it?
Yeah.
Talking amongst ourselves, he said. Where two or more are gathered, you better look out.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm trying to be a little bit of sunshine, but it's hard to be sunshiny today. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this right out. If you guys notice, I do have my light on here in my room because even though it's summer, even though we're kind of towards the end of summer, and we've been hot recently, apparently we might be getting some rain here where I'm at here in Southern California. So the clouds are out, and tonight I didn't have to actually put towels over my curtains here in front of my computer here to keep the glare out because there's no glare. So
that's just glaring.
Yeah. So anyway, and Chris, I think you also have a wrench. I know Rick has a wrench. So if you guys want to share any links, any promote, in fact, now that we kind of got the thing with Rick's situation out of the way, we'll start with Rick. And if you guys want to give a little intro for each of you, promote anything, share any links that you'd like. Start with Rick, do Chris, and then we'll get into the show here. So Rick.
I'm, as Mike said, I'm Rick. I do comic books, Christian comic books. My premier one is Canadian Shield. I don't feel like going grabbing my link at the moment, so
Okay,
but
that's fine.
you can find me on crosscomics.ca. It's easy enough to remember. You can go back and forth if you're watching this later to hear me say it. So crosscomics.ca. So just go check it out and check out my YouTube channel by the same name.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. Chris, you're up if you also want to share, any, again, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself. You want to promote any projects, share any links, go for
Well,
it.
actually, I'm in I'm in the process of fulfilling the Great Cyclopean #5. But anybody who wants to check us out, go to HeroShack.com. All the latest info is there. Huge supporters of indie comics, particularly those on FundMyComic. .com if you haven't heard of it. But yeah, that's about it. We got Cyclopean 6 coming soon. I'll promote then. But really, I'm just interested in learning a little bit more about Timely Comics.
Yeah, we'll get right into that.
Well, and Chris, that's not a link, unfortunately, what you put in there.
That's
that's
okay.
just the website.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's not. It's his website, but it's not even a link to his
No,
website.
he's saying I didn't post it as a link. Yeah. Hang on, let me
Uh,
do it in YouTube. All right, go ahead, man. Talk, guys.
yeah. Well, yeah, we're just giving of course, giving people a chance to come in and just chatting it up.
I'm goofing up, so I'm like, oh boy.
So yeah, tonight we're reading Namor, right? The
Right.
sub
We're gonna be
narrator.
we're gonna in fact while you're getting the link up there, Chris, why don't I just go ahead and share the screen here of the well, first off, we're gonna go to Marvel database here, because as I said, we're gonna do some intro stuff here first off. So let me just
Marvel Mystery Comics. There we go. It's linkable.
21,
Linkable.
4.
Linkable.
All right, so let me just, of course, Namor. Now we already know about Namor and Rick can tell you all about Namor because he's got quite a bit to say about Namor, right?
Namor is a straight up villain.
At least as he was depicted originally.
A villain.
Yeah, a villain with his own story in these books originally.
I was always taught that he was a hero. 60s Marvel cartoons, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't he a hero in those?
Yeah, hero or anti-hero they changed him into, but like in these early ones, or at least the first one, I haven't been following completely.
Well, yeah, it also depends upon your perspective too, because basically it's one of those things where, yes, to most people in the outside world, due in part to his methodology, he comes off as a villain, but to his own people, he's like a hero, because his people have cried about the evils that the surface dwellers have done against their.
Yeah, but the surface world doesn't even know they exist. They've never let them know they exist. They just come back whacking them, killing people outright. Just like you exist.
Anyways,
We didn't know you exist.
We'll get to the story and we can have this a little bit more then. It just yeah. So anyways, so here's Chris's link to his website. For anybody who might want to. No problem. I always do my best to. I may not be able to do much, but I can at least help promote it. So with that, why don't we take a quick look here at Electro the robot from Earth 616, not to be confused with the Spider-Man villain. His origin here, the reclusive and brilliant Professor Philo Zog wanted to help mankind. So he created a super robot, which he called Electro. Zog had received additional funding from the United States government, pledging to use the robot to fight crime and corruption. Zog initially hired a team of a dozen operatives to help him in his self-appointed task. Electro's first recorded mission was when Electro operator Dick Gardner summoned Electro to save child actress Joyce Lovely, who was being held ransom by Jaime Pazzetto and his mom. Now we're not gonna. I'm obviously not gonna read. I just read the origin there, and I'm just gonna go over the attributes, your powers, abilities, all that, real quickly. Just and then we'll move on to the other characters we'll introduce as well. So his powers. Here are this Electro's powers. Telecommunications. He is able to detect radio waves, allowing the operatives to summon him when needed. Electro could also project images around the area of his face. Usually, the professor used this trick to communicate with the operatives. Superhuman strength. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Superhuman leaping. Electro can perform Hulk leaps across, many miles. Similar to Superman, of course, in his early days, his very early adventures. Superhuman durability. Electro is invulnerable to bullets, fire, explosions, and acid. Superhuman speed. Electro can move at over 200 miles per hour on land, underwater, and in air. Flight. Thanks to navigational rockets, Electro can fly. Weakness. Electro goes inactive when the link is severed between his thoughts and those of the professor.
Weakness. EMPs. And actually, he sounds like an early version of Firestorm. With the professor and him linked,
Well, yeah,
I have to.
I guess in a way, but the difference is in the case of Firestorm, it was a merging of two organic. Electro is a robot, and basically he's still being controlled remotely by the professor, more than likely. So,
yeah. Oh well, I'm not. We'll see exactly how it works completely.
When we read the story, yeah.
I have something I'd like to point out. I thought it was interesting. Superhuman durability. They point out he's invulnerable to bullets, fire, explosions, and acid. So basically, he's invulnerable to a certain degree. But it's interesting that they pointed out acid as a specific thing to be invulnerable against. It's odd. What is he not invulnerable against with all those things listed?
Yeah.
Bullets would cover all your blunt weapons, all your swords.
Fire not necessarily. You would think so, but not necessarily. There are some characters that
And then you also have to remember, as this was written back in towards the end of 39 into 40.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm pointing it out.
A lot of mechanical devices back then would have been vulnerable to water, right?
True.
A simple electronic appliance, you just throw a glass of water, you just throw water on it and it short circuits, right?
Although you got to smile because it does say that he can travel underwater. In fact, he goes 200 miles an hour no matter land, sea, or air, which underwater, if he can go 200 miles an hour, that's wow. He is super robot, not human, right? Super robot.
Yeah,
amazing.
Technically.
Weapons, heavy artillery. The American military upgraded Electro with modern weaponry and equipped him with a rocket launchers. With a rocket launcher on each shoulder. They put launchers. Editing issue there. A minigun on his right arm, machine gun, and rocket launcher on his left. He was later seen without such weaponry, so it's unknown if he still retains his arsenal. All right, so that's all the stuff for Electro. So now let's go over to Daring Mystery Comic Volume 1, Number 2, real quick here. Look at a couple of the characters we will be looking at for here.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab something to drink.
All right. Projac, that's the guy I was talking about earlier. This guy's kind of a jungle hero type. All right, so Trojak, Trojak the Tiger Man. Not much is known about the past of the man who would grow up to be Trojak the Tiger Man. His father was an explorer who brought Trojak into the African jungle in Belgian Congo, where went while he was an infant. So this one, from what little bit I've read on it, it's kind of a bit of a Tarzan-esque story. You know,
It looks at with the art that they showed.
yeah. Abilities. Trojak is an expert survivalist. His skills honed from years of living in the jungles of Africa. He is adept at tree climbing and swinging on vines at peak human speeds. As an expert hunter and tracker, he can easily hide himself to the jungle. Um, he is strong enough to battle a lion with his bare hands. Trojak is also able to communicate with animals, especially with his companion Balu the tiger. Trojak is fluent in English and various native dialects in the African jungles. And a couple notes here. The Punisher and Wolverine encountered the Mokio Mbembe dinosaurs in the Congo. The Devil Beast could be from the 1940s era Mokil Mbembe. Trojak should not be confused with the similarly named Tiger Man who was active in India during the 1940s. So that's all of that, and then one more guy to look at real quick before we get into the actual readings. Getting down to it. Dennis Burton, who I think alternately has gone by the names Laughing Mask and Purple Mask, from some of the things I've seen in here. Origins: Dennis Burton was a young assistant district attorney from a long line of law enforcement officers. He grew frustrated at how difficult it is to first catch and then convict gangsters, and so he decided to take the law into his own hands. Using the alias The Laughing Mask, he donned a red suit and phosphorescent glowing mask, plus a pair of 45 pistols. He accepted killing as a means for justice. So this guy sounds a bit like a villain too.
It depends on who he's going after. He sounds at least like an anti-hero, or like Punisher.
Oh, what was that, Chris? I'm sorry.
Oh, that was Rick.
Oh. I said like the Punisher, maybe.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit.
Yeah. Yep.
Powers, none. Abilities: expert marksman and hand-to-hand combatant. As an assistant district attorney, Dennis has a deep knowledge of law and the legal system. Paraphernalia, equipment, phosphorescent glowing mask, weapons, pair of 45 caliber pistols. After his arrest, Dennis was mentioned to be 37 years old, making his date of birth to likely to be sometime around 1908, which means he was arrested in 1945.
That was the year of my grandfather's birth on my mom's side.
So
Or I think it was, or were they 1809 and 1810? I forget.
All right. So anyway, so now with all that being said, with all that, let's go ahead and yeah. Okay, so just so we're clear, so Rick, you do want to try to read, but Chris, you do not.
See, Senor.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the cover to the comic. And Chris, as I said, if anything, and of course Rick knows this as well. If anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And of course, we'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. But also, feel free to comment if anything grabs your attention there. So there you go. Marvel comment number 4.
I'm going to step away for a second, but I'm listening. I have to grab a drink too.
Well, just with the cover, well, we know about Human Torch is calling a character the Angel, so that's reminiscent of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Maybe
well, that's not the same Angel though. I know you're talking about Warren Worthington, but it's kind of funny because not just Timely here, but also there are a few other companies that had names of characters that would show up later in Marvel as well. Because Lev Gleason with Silver Streak, there's a couple characters there, the Claw and the Wasp, who were later character names used for Marvel. They were different characters, obviously, but
I guess I'm just sort of commenting on the fact that as time and they will become Marvel, they're using names of characters that will become somewhat famous. Although Angel as a name would be probably public domain no matter what. So
yeah, and then you also have Kazar, Great Submariner, plus other great features. So and there's Namor right there beating up on some sailors. Marvel Comics starts right now, free $25,000 prize.
No, just $25.
Oh, free $25 prize contest.
Yes, it's not today, Mike. It's back in 1939.
You win $5 first prize. 20 chances to win. All prizes are cash. First prize $5. Second prize $2. Third through
12th.
Third through 20th. 20th. $1 each.
So $18.
So total of $25. 20 prizes in all.
Cool.
And there's extra New York hit by Green. So there's the Human Torch. This is the Android version of the Human Torch, of course.
Yeah, he's
not Johnny Storm.
He's really making a mark for himself. Setting himself on fire. I don't know. I'm not going to be good at this tonight. That part. Making the puns.
I understand. Probably not in the mood to do so. Oh, look at that! Look at that picture. Guy's holding it to his captive's head. Got her gagged and everything. Next month, another great. So,
I'd like to see the Human Torch meet the Flame. For back then.
Flame? Your Flame or the Flame that we've seen in Wonder World comics?
The Flame that we see in Wonder World comics.
Fox featured syndicate.
Because it would be interesting seeing that flame come out of the Human Torch. Because he can use flames to transport himself. he just comes walking out of the Human Torch. Or
And here we go.
walking
Here's
in.
Prince Namor, the Submariner, by Bill Everett. Bill Everett also did Amazing Man for Centaur Comics as well around this time. So here we go. Namor, after having saved a British freighter from destruction by an enemy bomber and submarine, stands on an island beach with Betty Dean, a New York City policewoman, who has asked him for help. Now to go on with our story. I wish you could stay with us a while before you return to your home in the Antarctic, Namor. You could do a lot to help stop this terrible war. The current submarine warfare has practically banished all sea transportation, and cargoes have to be shipped in a giant air clippers, or via giant air clippers. You could do some things about that. That means then that the war will really begin in earnest. The long dreaded aerial warfare is actually to commence now. That means only one thing, that I shall have to go back to my people at the South Pole and organize my army of submariners. I'll fix this war. So is Chris back yet, or?
It looks like it. You're muted, Chris.
I've been listening the whole time. They had to make me something to eat because I was watching Rick and got hungry after watching that sub go by. So, yeah.
Well, we just read the first thing there. What do you think? I know it's a little early there, but what do you think so far?
Well, I'm somewhat familiar with it, and it didn't sound the same until now. I'm looking at it. The artwork for me makes all this dialogue look more alive. Like it's just a style. And the English language, the way they used it back then, kind of blends with it. Like even in that first panel, the body is it's just a style. It looks like if someone tried to draw that today, it would never pass. That's always the case with Golden Age, but it's good. It's unique. It's like got that flavor.
Yeah, it's a nice respite from what you see today, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of what you see today. Yeah. All right. So continuing on then. I'll be on my way. This looks like a destroyer coming to rescue the crew of the freighter. They'll probably see that you're safely returned to New York. At any rate, I can't delay any longer. Goodbye and good luck. I'll be seeing you.
I'll be seeing you.
I'll be back.
I can organize our armed forces within a week and clean up these warring nations. I shan't play any favorites, but I'll destroy anyone who interferes with the transportation of food or medical supply, no matter for whom they're intended. That's a very interesting. So I can organize our armed forces within a week and clean up these warring nations. I shan't play any favorites, but I'll destroy anyone who interferes with the transportation of food or medical supply, no matter for whom they're intended. So, okay, so Rick, I know in some of the earlier stories when we'd go over this, you would say he was an outright villain. based on this monologue here, would you say that he's still a villain, or?
Well, at the moment, it seems like he's moving to, we'll say, anti-hero. Although I'm not sure whether that's quite a thing at this point, but
And you could argue that maybe Betty Dean. I know you probably weren't here when I read the previous entry on it, but Betty Dean might be having some kind of pacifying influence on Namor here too.
yeah.
So.
I was thinking, it's funny because we get on modern day mainstream comics about being political, and that right there was a very political statement saying we don't care about the war in the sense that we want medical and food to get through. And like whoever wrote it, I'm not sure who the writer was. I'll bet you they probably had a very similar attitude, like, have the war fine, but we want to make sure that necessities are taken care of and the innocent don't suffer any more than they have to.
Well,
Yeah,
I think that's the name of the person who created Namor the Submariner here is Bill Everett, who also created Amazing Man for Centaur Comics. Amazing Man Comics. Was the name of the book he was featured in, and then for Centaur Comics or Centaur Publications. So it's Bill Everett, and something that we've talked about here before too, Chris. That and Rick and I have talked a lot about it. Metal and I have talked a lot about it. How in particular, when you're talking about stories in which the Nazis are referred to in stories, you had because a lot of the comic book creators of the time were of Jewish descent, and so they were trying to shine a light on and even maybe get America into the war, even though Americans did not really want to get involved in World War II, and they didn't get involved until because World War II in Europe started in 1939.
Right.
Right around this time, in fact, was when it was beginning.
Yeah.
And then America got into it 2 years later in 1941. So
after they were made to think that Japan was in league with the Nazis.
After swimming many miles at lightning speed, Namor arrives at an outpost station of his beautiful subsea city. Hello, Petrod. You want to do Petrod right there, Rick?
Prince Namor, welcome home.
A few miles further, and Namor comes to the Palace of Ice, an anchored iceberg whose topmost peak is the central fortress. Passing through the huge gates, he walks along glacier-like corridors of ice to the council chamber, where sits the emperor and the court of three in conference.
Prince Namor, thou hast returned safely. Welcome.
I, Holy One, I have returned from an adventurous trip. Many things have I to tell you. I had an experience, O Holy One, with a young policewoman of New York City that showed me the error of my ways. We are wrong in our attitude toward the white race. But I wish to ask a favor of you, Emperor. 3 nations are at war in the north. I should like to assemble our forces to act as privateers. We can stop this war.
Namor, it is against our rules of the Empire, but I trust your judgment implicitly. You have the permission of the court I endow you with the rank of Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy. Do as you will.
Now look at the emperor right there. I guess
Yeah.
that's the emperor. Right? Look at it. Now that's kind of a scary face, quite honestly. What do you guys think?
Yeah. And it's amazing how different that he looks than Namor in the face.
Is he an android, or is he intended to be an actual Asian person there?
I think he's intended to be some sort of Atlantean, for lack of a better.
He's not an android. He's like, I guess, a submariner, or half man, half fish kind of thing. I guess.
Well, I was going to say some sort of, for lack of a better term, Atlantean.
Yeah.
Water people. People that live under the sea, under the sea.
Yeah. And so, in one short week, Namor had organized the small but powerful armed forces of the subsea empire. Hundreds of super aerial submarines equipped with deadly steam guns are assembled for battle. They are propelled by artificial steam generated by compressed air charging, a mixture of alcohol and water, and are capable of uncanny speed. So at least they got some of the science right, because I know Metal in particular was really upset when he was last on. We were looking at some of the stretches of logic and some of the ways they would use science in some of these stories. It's like, but that sounds a little bit more sound like what is actual correct science there. So meanwhile, over the North Atlantic, a transport plane covered by two let me see if
two something pursues ships.
I just increased the font so I could see if that might make it a little bit easier to read there.
Well, too far.
Didn't do much. By two light pursuit ships, makes his way through
to an undisclosed destination.
Right, to an undisclosed location. And not many miles
away,
and an enemy airplane carrier picks up the sound of the approaching transport. The commander orders out a torpedo plane and two light bombers. With roaring motors, the ships leave the deck of the airplane carrier, headed for the unsuspecting convoy. Yeah, sometimes the way they write, some of the way they work these dialogue boxes, kind of
is messed up.
Yeah.
They were fighting for space.
What was that?
Sorry, I'm chewing. They were fighting for space. Like they were running out of room on the page. They were fighting for space to keep everything. Right. You know what I mean? So they have to squeeze stuff like this.
Yeah. Inside the leading bomber, the flight commander radios orders to the other two planes. Rick, you want to do this flight commander right here?
Proceed at full speed northwest by west numbers 83C and 104C. Attack the convoy with machine guns. I'll take care of the transport with a magnetic torpedo bomb.
The attack begins, and a torpedo bomb bursts above the transport. Boom! Ripping the wings asunder. The transport and convoy down. The attack is over, and the deadly and the boy.
Where are you? The convoy's down. The attack is over. The enemy heads back to
The enemy
its
heads
base.
back to the
Its base
its
ship.
The shattered clipper and the pursuit ships plunge into the sea. But suddenly, from the depths of the sea, comes a fleet of strange aerial submarines, Namor's forces striking their first blow. All right, I'm just potting here to see if anybody's in yet or anybody's commenting.
No, I'll let you know. I've got the chat up.
Me too.
Yeah. Let's see.
In his
flagship, the enemy commander is astounded, puzzled as to the origins of the weird craft. He gives the call to battle stations, and has radioed to the rest of his fleet.
All hands at your stations.
The aerial subs attack great spurts of boiling steam, enveloping the giant bombers. A torpedo bomber escapes the scalding vapor. Scalding vapor. Wow, how often do you see that in comics anymore?
Never.
Yeah. That would be too realistic.
What was that?
That would be too realistic. They can't have someone going up with scalding vapors.
Yeah, you're probably right. Very descript. One of its missiles of death, which misses the mark, as the tail of Namor's ships is of a repellent quality. All right. Screams of agony. Screams of agony issue from the bombers as they are trapped in a steam crossed and forced into the sea. His first job done, Namor in his flagship
You want me to read?
Well, if you can make that out.
Where are you?
the bottom right there, just below Namor.
flagship.
Can you see it?
Chuckles,
Oh, wow.
chuckles maliciously at his own victory.
Oh, okay.
What fools these
Well,
mortals!
I'll take
Oh,
Namor. I
that.
just need help with
Sorry, I didn't realize that was Namor.
Yeah. What fools these mortals be, warring among each other to satisfy the arrogant egos of a few stupid governments. I'll show them what war is like. War to preserve the safety and happiness of the civilian population. So his methods here might still be quote unquote villainous, but his intent is no longer villainous here. It's like, this goes back to what I was saying before. Basically, he may have seemed like a villain because of his methods, but it was more like,
Well, it was also what he was doing too at the time. I get that one man's murder is another man's hero, if you will. Right. But, there is sort of at the same time, murdering innocent people just because they're there, they don't attack you and, you're attacking them and then saying, it's their fault.
Yeah. Telepathically, Namor orders his fleet to return to the scene of the battle between the bombers and the transport. With the speed of light, the aerial subs skid down on the water's surface before the transport clipper has had time to sink. Wreckage of the two pursuit ships make approach to the clipper hazardous, but soon an aerial sub is lashed to its floating fuselage. Rapidly, the cargo's transferred as the clipper rain begins to nose over. Holy whales! She's beginning to go. Quickly get under her with number 6. Bolster her up before she dives. Number 6 aerial sub suddenly does a headstand and plunges beneath the surface. And so it's like, right? To straighten out quickly and skip beneath the sinking transport, forcing her back to a floating position.
And hello, JR. JR is
Hail Xenu, I have arrived. I guess better late than never, right? We're already at the 48 minute, coming on 49 minutes, but good thing we played hours for these. And as another aerial sub stands by, ready to assist, a silent menace appears on the scene. A deadly submarine of one of the belligerent, or I guess belligerent nations, naval forces. Now, that's the only downside. Sometimes some of these scans, whether it's the scans or just the way they're done here, it just sometimes made it harder to read.
Yeah.
Floating underwater while supervising the salvage work. Namor's eyes are quick to perceive the coming danger. Great sharks. A submarine quickly, men. Prepare for attack en masse. Instantly, at Namor's command, the squadron of submariners swarmed down upon the submarine, ripping hatches open, destroying deck gun conning towers, conning tower, periscope, diving planes, and wireless. A moment later, the ill-fated submarine keels over and rolls into the mud. Good. The filthy swine will die, trapped in their own infernal machine, and such as theirs is a horrible thing. They deserve to die. Now, yes, this does make him sound more like a villain here in this instance, but
Yeah.
a lot of comic book characters at this time had this attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Batman and Superman were coming close to murdering people. This guy is obviously he's for murdering people. So, again, it's the anti-hero treatment that you are seeing.
Right. Batman had the same attitude when he made his first appearance in Detective Comics number 27 with Albert Stryker.
Yeah. Well, see, again, I take into account, like how nasty a person is or trying to.
Well, you know what? I wonder if we're not looking at this with somewhat jaded eyes. I imagine this must have been the attitude of many of the common people. Like, if they're bad, oh, well, they can die and they deserve it. And now today that sounds almost appalling because, we have like rehab and rehabilitation and but back then there was kind of that like, hey, if you're going to play with fire and you get burned, oh well.
Yeah.
So in a way I can kind of see it for the time.
Yeah, I guess I can. But see, the other thing too is we're not told too much about the sides in this quote unquote war. So maybe Namor's sinking the good guys and saying that they deserved.
That was the same. I remember that was kind of the same line of thinking you had. We read that Zatara story a while back, where he went to the other dimension, and with very little information, decided to just help the one side, in their war. I remember.
Well, I think in this case, I think Namor probably knows. Well, maybe he doesn't. Who all the sides are. But at the same time, he just doesn't care. They're warring. I'm going to stop them warring. One might actually have a right premise. There might be a just reason for this war.
Is this World War II Antifa?
I don't know whether. Technically, I don't think this would.
Yeah, because we don't know if the good guys or bad guys are the quote unquote fastest in his world, right? In his worldview, we don't know which one's the good guy.
Yeah,
because he made them both bad guys.
Yeah.
Well, basically,
he's an anarchist.
His overall attitude is anything or anyone who's a threat to his home, his kingdom, is a bad guy.
Yeah, but see, this is not even that. In this case, he's acting on the behalf of a police woman.
Yeah,
saying, "Oh, can you intervene?" Well, she didn't get specific enough, or either that, or she did it purposely, like, "Oh, I don't care how you stop the war," like stop the war.
Just stop it.
And again, is there a just reason for this war? Because sometimes there are, like.
Well, you got to remember too that this is again at the dawn of World War II, even though America is not involved in the war yet in the real world, but a lot of these as we've talked about before, a lot of these comic book creators are trying to get America involved in the war. So they're writing stories in such a way that America's already in the war and the Americans are in danger, even though the war hasn't actually come to America yet. It's still a couple of years away.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of stuff that we could easily try and unravel and go over back and forth here, about this and the pertainings to World War II and all that. But with that said, maybe we should just go on in the script.
I was just about to. I was just waiting for you to finish there.
Yeah.
Rising to the surface amid air bubbles from the sunken sub, Namor hails the Admiral. Daka, finish unloading as quickly as possible and prepare to take flight. I want you to take this cargo to its marked destination and leave it unnoticed in some accessible place where the proper authorities will find it. I want to take a look through this plane before we leave. Entering the Clipper, Namor stops in the pilot's cockpit, and his eye is caught by
a newspaper
of the
on the chart table
on the court table. Good Lord, what's this? A current newspaper, an American newspaper. Let's read the headlines. Neutral ship held by enemy. American freighters cargo seized as contraband. Fear for crew of 38. My men cannot live out of water for more than 5 hours at a time. So I'll have to go on this expedition alone. I can live in the air for an indefinite time. I've got to find that ship. It may take some time, but my conscience gives me no choice. I'll go now. Somebody just snore?
Yeah.
No. Oh, it was you.
I was aware of it too as it was happening. Obviously.
Yeah.
Like I can.
When I'm trying to read through some of these bad scans, I know it can get a little boring because it's like, it's hard because you're struggling, and then it's like,
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
and I'm just a lot tired too tonight.
Yeah. So, dispatching the crew of his flagship to another aerial submarine, Namor at the controls speeds off across the ocean. The newspaper hinted that the ship was in the North Sea near Denmark.
Now, I've got a question. Can there really be such a thing as an aerial submarine?
Well, I don't know. I mean, can there be anything like a flying fish? Right?
Well, there is, but for me, by definition, a submarine goes in water.
Right.
And
So are they
Yeah.
trying to like flip it like for the reader's sake, like to have a novel like, oh, see, the air is like the water is to us. So they have even though it's an airplane, they have a air. You know what I mean? Like it's a reverse submarine, but like, yeah, it's
Well,
really
yeah.
weird.
Well,
it's a
okay.
submarine that can, go through air.
Well, okay.
What would they call it though?
You guys have watched Star Trek before, right?
No.
No.
Oh, you've never watched Star Trek?
No, I have, man. I know who Darth Vader is.
No, that's Star Wars, not Star Trek.
I know who Jack O'Neill is.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
No, but
You think we're playing with you a little bit, Mike?
It's like
Yeah, we've seen Star Trek.
When they're going through space, they're talking about it more as if they're like sailing the stars, even though that's not water. That's just space. Yeah.
In Star Trek, it's not water?
No, Chris, it's not water.
Yeah, but at least they call their ships starships.
True, but I thought NASA was doing that stuff in the water now.
They're not called water ships. They're not called airships. They're called starships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but an aerial. So I think it's interesting because obviously aerial submarine is something that the writer came up with. But we got to think the Atlanteans would never call their stuff aerial submarine.
Well, and think about it too. It might be a combination of two things. It might be an airplane and a submarine all wrapped into one. Therefore, that's why they call it an aerial sub.
That's true too.
Okay, maybe I can buy that.
Yeah.
It could also be the sub that belongs to Ariel from the X-Men.
From before this time, where it was called Air Sub X5 or something like that, and it was basically an airship that could also go underwater. So, that might be it too. So, anyways, rushing his very life, he searches, risking his very life. He searches every mile of the coast, dying to scan the identity of each ship he passes. For 2 weeks, this goes on, and finally, on a bright moonlit night, he slips into a secluded bay to rest for the night, only to find it already occupied by a dark and silent freighter guarded by 2 sinister submarines.
Sinister submarines?
That's what it looked like to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Sinister.
Who knew a submarine could be sinister, right?
Yeah.
German engineering.
Yeah. Aha. Looks like my search was not in vain. Might be a good idea to board her while it is yet dark. So they're
boarding her?
So there will be less chance of my being discovered. The ship is reportedly manned by a prize crew.
Whoa.
And I want to investigate a bit before I do anything rash.
Wait a minute.
Namor wants to investigate before he does something rash.
Yeah, but he's boarding her, and she's full of men, and he's afraid of a rash. Is that what I gathered here?
I'm just glad Diana's not here because she'd be going, "Oh, Chris."
Well, yeah. Fortunately, she's watching some show, not us.
I kind of wish she was watching this show though, because I think she'd find some of this probably fun too.
Oh, she'd probably get all over me though. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to digress like that.
No, I know. I mean, well, that's what makes these experiences fun. Sometimes, granted, you don't want to digress too much, obviously, but
Yeah.
but
I just have to laugh at Namor's thing. Oh, I don't want to do anything rash.
yeah, because Rick is sitting here saying, how he's a villain and this and that, and he's a bad guy, and
Well, Rick has obviously noted how reasoned and calm Namor normally is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a hero, right?
They may scuttle ship if they think anything is wrong. Slipping out of his uniform, and clad only in woolen trunks, so as to minimize the noise he makes traveling through the water. Namor leaves his submerged vessel and slips through the water to the freighter's stern. A guard patrols the submarine's deck. As the guard disappears behind the conning tower, now, as I understand it, the conning tower, if you've ever seen a sub, the conning tower, I believe, is that one piece of part of the submarine that so you see that the a submarine is kind of like shaped like almost like a whale, and the conning tower is that extension that comes out of the top of it, basically.
You mean like in the middle panel with the red sub there, that one tower?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the conning tower. I think that's also used as the hatch for them to get in and out of the sub in too.
Right.
So of the sub, on the port side, Namor leaps with a faint splash to the freighter. So far, so good. Now to find the nautical clothing, some nautical clothing, in case I'm spotted. They may.
Oh yeah, like you couldn't take care of yourself if you were spotted.
Yeah.
I don't see Old Navy, so how did he get nautical clothing?
Yeah. They
carry nautical.
They may think me a member of the crew. What luck! A whole line full of laundry. What a break! Sweater, pants. That's all I need. A quick trip through the freighter, and I'll find out what sort of a crew I have to deal with. A reconnaissance trip, sort of. Who's that? Now, mind you though, again, we were talking about he's trying to investigate before doing anything rash, right? We're all over that a couple panels back, right? So this again, I think he's just trying to, do reconnaissance or get a look around without having an incident happen. That's probably why he was saying he needed to get some nautical clothing, as it were. I don't think it has anything to do with him being able to, whether or not he'd be able to defend himself if he was attacked. I think it's just like he doesn't seem like he wants to cause a stir at this point. Right?
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Good Lord. Good Lord, what are we going to do? Oh, actually. Oh, that's coming from a good. All right, you want to do that because I think those first those.
Okay.
Good I'll Lord. Do those two because I don't think those are Namor. I was initially thinking they were Namor, but those are.
Good Lord, Tim. Yeah. Good Lord, Tim. What are we going to do? we're subjected to this stupid military rule. I can't even talk as we wish. Oh, Tim, I wish we were home in Boston. Take it easy. Take it easy, Barbara. Oh,
Okay, I should have probably done. But if I knew that, so okay, I'll do Barbara, the top one. Then you can do the
yeah.
bottom one, Tim. Okay. Good Lord, Tim, What are we going to do? We're subjected to this stupid military rule and can't even talk as we wish. Oh, Tim, I wish I were home in Boston.
Take it easy, Barbara. They might hear us. There's nothing we can do. We might as well be resigned to it.
And I guess I was a little so ducking behind the ventilator. Namor listens to the approaching voice. I should probably did that before. Again, RJ and I have gone on some of these comics about that, about where they put the narration sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the top and at the bottom. It's like make up your blasted mind, why don't you?
Make up our minds. Anyways, listen, Barbara, your dad is the skipper of this tub, but what can we do? We're completely under the control of his darned prize crew. We're prisoners.
I know, Tim, but we're supposed to be married in March, and now we'll never make it. Silently, Namor steps up behind the startled couple. Don't be alarmed, friends. I've just heard you talk of your plight and want to help you and the rest of the crew. Rick, you were Tim there.
Oh, okay. Say, who are you, and what the devil do you mean by scaring the wits out of us? Haven't you any consideration for people who want
Want?
to be alone?
Hmm. Look, you little fools. I want to help you. I'll be your friend if you'll let me. I have a plan in mind whereby you can all escape from this confounded mess. All I need is cooperation.
You're crazy. We're too well guarded, and even if we did get away, the danger of mines in the North Sea is too great. And even if by chance we did get through the mines, then there would be the matter of time before we'd be recaptured. It's no use, chum.
Namor pledges with, or Namor pleads with the cynical Americans. There's a lot there's a lot of truth in that. Yet I don't know what it is about you Americans that makes you so skeptical. But I assure you that if you'll only give me a chance, I'll show you the way out. Wait a minute, Tim. Let's listen to what he has to suggest, no matter how crazy it may seem. We've got to try something. Listen to him, Tim.
All right.
What's
Let's
so funny,
see.
Chris? What's so
Here.
funny? What was that?
So in light of what Rick has said about Namor,
Uh-huh.
that whole line there, I only feel like the writer is like, okay, Americans, we make you think like we think. Listen to me, believe me, Americans. Don't be so. No, don't hesitate. Trust me. I know that's the wrong accent, but I was just laughing because I'm like, listen to what he says. We have to listen no matter how crazy it may seem. What?
Yeah, but there was a lot of writing like that throughout. I think throughout the golden and silver age. It's like
Oh, absolutely. But I'm like, okay, so there's a little like, okay, let's try to get the readers to dig in here. You must listen no matter how crazy it sounds.
yeah. Hmm.
It's just funny. I got off on it. I was giggling.
Well, that's good. I mean, again, you get into it, you have some fun with it. That's a big part of the show too, right? Getting people
Yeah.
involved.
You gotta appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Here it is. I want the American crew to swim one by one over to the submarine on the starboard side and silence the watchman on deck. Then board the submarine en masse and overpower the crew.
Wait a minute. Where are they right now?
I guess they're on one ship, and there's another submarine on. Okay. So if we go back a few panels, they were. You know how they said there were two Sinister subs?
Yes.
So my guess at this point now would be one of the subs was a captured sub, and the other was or a captured ship, and So I think what he's saying is now what we're going to do when this crew of the ship is going to try to take over that enemy sub. I think that's what he's going for there.
Ooh, just like Pirates of the Caribbean, but a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then board the submarine en masse and overpower the crew. Return here silently, and then Namor finishes telling them of his plan, and although the mate is still skeptical, Rick?
Sorry. All right. It's preposterous, but we'll try it.
And so 1/2 hour later, the Jacobs ladder is lowered, and a silent group of seamen drop into the water.
Splish splash, we were taking a bath once upon a Saturday night.
Yep. Let's see. Swimming to the submarine, a quick trip, and the watchman crumples to the deck. Then fast action. The Americans make short work of their captors, surprising them in close quarters inside the sub. Underwater, Namor sends an urgent telepathic message to his admiral, Anka, or Naka, as he snaps the freighter's anchor chain. Naka, come quick! Naka, come quickly! I need your help. Follow this course of my thought, and you should have no problem finding me. A subtle change in scenery as the ship slowly commences to drift brings the watchman in the crow's nest to his feet. And you want to do that voice?
Yeah. What's that? We're drifting? The starboard sub is underweight. Ahoy, the bridge! What's up?
Let's see. Bemuddled bemuddled excitement, Bubbles oddly muffled on the freighter as the prize crew matches the rapidly sinking submarine. A few seconds later, they are flabbergasted as the submerged U-boat sends a torpedo humming through the sea to its sister ship, shattering the silent night with a terrifying roar. The blast rocks the very landscape. Is the sub is a sub Earth. Let's see. Tying up the U-boat's crew and locking them in the submarine in their after disabling it, the Americans returned to their ship, only to be met at the deck rail by an enraged prize crew. The battle begins and is over in a flash.
No, stop. We surrender. Don't take the ship to the sea. She'll hit a mine and we'll all be killed.
Rapidly, Namor's aerial subs approach, dodging in and out of the maze of floating mines at a mile a minute pace. Namor,
What's a mile a minute? Isn't that slow? No, I guess not.
Yeah.
Well, for a car, that's not very fast, though, or for a plane. Is it?
A mile a minute, that's basically 60 miles in an hour.
Yeah, that's not like very fast.
Yeah, but back then it would have been probably.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Namor transmits another message. Naka, take your men out of the ship and order them to pull the mines down and out of our way as we go along. Don't destroy them. The noise might attract attention. Now, Chris, just in case you were wondering why I did this for that, because that wasn't as much him speaking, that was more of a thought bubble right there. So with
Gotcha.
or when they're speaking over like a radio or something like that, I'll do this to kind of like really add to the effect.
It's not a bad idea.
Underwater, Naka's men obey, and the mines are pulled below level of the ship's bottom.
Good Lord, sir. This is uncanny. What's happening? What became of the two submarines? Why did my men rebel against the prize crew? And where are we going?
Never mind the questions. Just keep the ship on a course due west. Abruptly, Namor leaves the captain and dives from the bridge to the black ocean below. Keep her on a regular charted course to Scotland, and I'll take care of the rest. What will happen now? Will the ship reach peaceful waters, or will she be captured again? What will be her fate in the hands of Namor the Submariner. Watch for your next issue, the March issue of Marvel Comics. Now remember, even though this went on sale in December of 1939, cover date was February. Now, if you guys can, kind of just talk amongst yourselves for a moment, I do have to step away from the computer for a moment.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. But you guys, I don't know, talk amongst yourselves, talk about what we read thus far here, and when I get back, we'll get to the next story. All right.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Rick?
I'm getting very tired.
I'm watching you, man. You're fading. What do you think of these colors? These colors, they suck.
Yeah, they're not. They're not really all that vibrant. You know,
I'm surprised.
I guess they're good.
Redid them.
Yeah, well, then again, it could just be the scan too, because as we've noticed with some of the dialogue too, the scan's not necessarily good. So it might not be a good color scan of the color too.
Yeah, and I forgot it was a scan too. I was thinking it was never mind. They didn't have PDFs back then, so
Yeah.
boy, I was like, they put this out and look how grainy. Oh, yeah, it's a scan, kid. You gotta remember that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, on newspaper. So too.
Those were the days. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Alterna's still doing something like it, but even Alterna doesn't have the same. Nobody has that same feel because it was so cheaply made.
Yeah.
If you fall asleep on me right now, I'm gonna pause. Mute my mic and pretend that I'm asleep too.
Well, when Mike gets back, I'm gonna see whether I can bow out and just.
You should just do it now. Just go before he gets back.
No.
I'll cover for you.
No,
I'll say that you're in the back room. He'll never know.
Yes, he will. He's gonna bring me in. I won't be there.
No, but he'll understand totally, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I just want to, do it.
I know, man. I'm messing with you. Trying to make you smile a little, even though I'm not very good at it. If I were, I would be a comedian. See, I think if I get quiet, you're going to fall asleep.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully he's not too long.
Yeah, and well, we're coming up on an hour and a half. Rick, are you really starting to fade to where you feel?
Yeah, I think I've missed a couple of my cues, as you probably noticed during this, to read.
If you just want to sit back and relax and do commentary, then I can do the voices myself. If you just want to, just try to do comment.
If I sit back and relax, I'm just gonna fall asleep.
Yeah,
I know that.
One of the things I did want to talk to you about after the show, of course, was see if you still wanted to schedule your next.
That's easy enough. I was looking at it. I know you got RJ on the first week in October, right? The 6th.
And I actually have Shadowhawk on the 13th. So my next open date will be the 20th.
Yeah, so I was just that's what date I was gonna take, because I'll probably be hopefully I'll be at Chris's on the 13th.
Okay, so Shadowhawk's on the 13th, and you want to just take the 20th then?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to slip out before you go, well, you can probably do that on Sunday when I have you back here. If you want to just do a quick outro, you don't have to share a link if you don't want to, but you just want
to. Rick Piper, Cross Comics. Go follow me here on YouTube if you're not, and check out my website. I've done some updates lately. And again, thank you for having me on, Mike. Sorry I'm not able to complete the night.
I understand. It was good that Chris was willing to volunteer for tonight. So
yeah. And Chris, I suggest you try and read, maybe a small line, just one line here or there. I think
I
you'll
know you
like it.
do. I know you do. I'm texting Diana, hoping I can get her in.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't know.
Actually,
Well, why? Why? So I don't have to do the women voices?
no. So nobody tries to make me read. Hang on, let me go see if she's awake. I'll be
Well,
right back. I
he
have the
won't make
headphones so I can
he
hear you
won't
guys.
he won't make you read. I was just suggesting it because I
You
think
know,
you'd have fun doing voices.
I
It'd be
can
no
only
different
read.
when we did. Well, it'd be no different than when we did it on your show for your book.
Yeah, but typically I'm only able to read English dialect that was written in an ancient Greek style. My wife has to write me weird love letters. I'll be right back. Hang on, I'm gonna go see if she's.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Well, just in case you guys are wondering, Rick,
I'll
tired.
keep you company till he gets back.
Yeah. So we're gonna let Rick go here as soon as Chris comes back.
Yeah, maybe you can move up to the next story. That way, that
Yeah,
part.
at least that way I'll be ready to read it. When he comes back. Good point there,
Yeah.
Rick. So we got the Masked Reader there, which is like kind of a Western type story. That was something else that RJ had talked about, mentioned before too. That the anthologies back in these days were very diverse, very mixed.
Mixed bags.
Yeah. Morning, Electro, there we go.
Yeah, and I really wanted to be here for this one because if with that's it, I wanted to see how.
Well, remember, I keep these up, so you can always
Yeah,
come back and watch it again.
yeah,
It again if you
yeah,
wanted to. Because I do keep them up, so
yeah.
wanted to go back and watch it. But again, we'll. This rate, we might end up going a little because, well, even though I knew we had to still do the intros to the characters,
Yeah.
I would now maybe when we do because Daring Mystery Comics, that one's actually a better scan, so we might be able to get to those stories real quick because I think it was like 10 and 8 for each book.
Well,
So,
yeah. Well, also I think it's the thing that you got to recognize, depending on the commentary or whatever, that can make it longer too. These stories, and Namor was, I think, an extra long story too, and there was a lot of caption dialogue reading.
Yeah.
There was times that it was hard, but there was also a lot of it, so it made it go longer, and especially it was like how many pages was Namor?
Well, it was technically 10.
That was only 10 pages.
Yeah.
It seemed a little more like 15 or 20.
According to my source, it was a 10-page story. Yeah, 10-page, and then this one here is going to be an 8, and then the Trojak story I think is going to be a 10-pager, and then Laughing Mask, Purple Mask, going to be 8. So
I don't think you're going to get
what I expect in a 2-hour period, anyways. Plus, of course, we did have the introductions as well to go through.
I don't think,
but we just had some regular conversation time too.
Yeah, unless you just read these and have no conversation, I don't think you're going to get through all the next 3, maybe 2 at best. But
yeah, that's what I would.
The 2 short ones, it might just be this one. I know you want to try and get through all 4. But anyways, hopefully you get through some. Chris, it looks like he's back there. His mic's unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
No, I can't. So what did Diana say?
Diana was asleep.
Oh.
She's actually asleep.
Chris, I wouldn't make you read anyway. I put it out there. If you want to read,
no, I know. No, I know. I was just going to try to guilt Diana, but she's actually asleep. She's watching Them, a TV series called Them, It's like a horror thing. Well, I don't know. I thought there was a movie called Them, but she's watching a series.
Yeah.
And she fell asleep during it, so that must mean it's really great. So I'm
Rick,
sorry to
I have you set for the 20th, October 20th. Then, so,
yeah.
If you want to slip out now, Chris and I can finish the show.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you for sticking out what you were able to. I do appreciate it. I know it's difficult with everything that's been happening the last couple of days here, but I do appreciate you still being a trooper and getting through what you could. So.
Don't forget to take off your glasses before you fall asleep.
I won't.
What was that?
Oh, he was telling me to make sure to take off my glasses.
I know how that is, man.
Yeah.
Don't pass out with those on. You might wake up with them broken.
Yeah. As soon as I get off here, take these off. It'll be these off almost right away.
Maybe you'll finally get a crash and just get a good sleep in.
God bless you.
Well, I'm that tired that I think I'm finally gonna be able to just zonk out. Yeah. Okay, so later, guys. Again, thanks for having me on, so I can stick along more.
Sleep well,
See you Sunday.
All right, Chris. So it's just you and me here now. So, as I said, I'll just do the reading from this point on, unless you want to,
No, go for it, man. Let's do this. Let's listen to this.
And then, as always, just anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment or ask questions.
I will do my best.
All right, so let's get into this one then. So, and Rick, I know, was saying he really wanted to stick around for this one, but it just didn't happen. And I just remind him that he could always go back and watch it, since I do keep these up. So, Electro, the Marvel of the Age, by Dahl. Professor Philo Zog, mechanical wizard and electrical genius, has contrived a marvelous robot, or mechanical man, all powerful and intelligent. With his wonder robot, Professor Zog hopes to work for the welfare of humanity. Now, that was a common theme in a lot of superhero stories, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, they always seem to want to do the welfare of humanity.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny in light of like the Truth, Justice, American Way Superman, like he was humanity too, but he kind of had that patriotic, that bend,
Towards the ends that justice and universal happiness may take the place of wars, crime, and suffering. And there's, of course, a picture of Professor Zog right there.
Yep.
I don't know. From the look at him, what would he say? Maybe somewhere in his 50s, maybe?
Well, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have gray hair, but he's definitely got a receding hairline.
Mm-hmm. And he's got the wrinkles in his head.
Yep.
His forehead there.
And he's got eyeglasses, so his eyes are going.
Yeah. For the final test, he has taken Electro to a deserted farm where he is free to experiment. He places Electro on the ground and speaks to him by means of remote control electro wires, which transfer Professor Zog's thoughts into the metal headpiece. So I guess this is where the idea, the separation of his thoughts, and see, he's got even some kind of even helmet on that connects him to Electro, right?
So is he just controlling this robot telepathically through radio waves, or is the robot also
like that would appear to be the case? It looks like.
So the robot doesn't have his own like personality or consciousness.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And then to the mechanical brain of Electro, thus Zog's slightest wish is Electro's command. Electro, walk to the barn. Electro immediately responds and walks silently and swiftly to the barn. Now, the way they have him designed there, you wouldn't think he was a robot. You would think he was like something out of medieval times right there.
Yeah, there was
Look at the
definitely.
design right there.
It kind of looks like someone who was thinking Metal Man and was thinking like armor. Like when he thought Metal Man, because that kind of resembles medieval armor, but not really. Like he was trying to be stylish, but.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of his waist there. That I guess those shorts or whatever you want to call them.
The warrior tunic.
Yeah. Zog watches the reflector on his control machine, which receives images transferred from a television eye on Electro's head. He sees Electro is nearing the barn. Enter the barn. Electro enters the barn and continues walking. Professor Zog sees a huge post in Electro's path. Destroy that post. Wanton destruction, right? I guess that's why he took him to the abandoned barn, so he could just do wanton destruction, I guess.
Just to test it out.
Yeah. With one powerful sweep, Electro snaps the massive post in two as though it were a toothpick. Crack! Crush your way through that wall and return swiftly to me. Electro breaks into a swift run and smashes through the wall with great ease. Crash! Well, it would appear that you have a point there, Chris, that he's just simply an automaton. He doesn't seem to have. It would appear, anyways, that Electro has no will of his own, apparently.
But maybe he breaks through.
Yeah. He returns to the professor, covering the distance in great strides, each measuring several yards. His speed reaches 100 miles per hour.
Ooh.
Up, Electro. Shutting off his mechanism and building his Wonder Robot and bundling his Wonder Robot into the rear seat, Professor Zog drives back to the city. Of my last dream, at last, my dream of helping humanity is to be realized. Straight to the point. Hey there, Chris.
Well, he's trying. I guess I always feel like they're squeezing space. Like, see how many words and letters are there? Like, it reminds me of when I was a kid and I would run out of room on the page, and instead of redrawing it, you just squeeze it in. And like, it's obvious they were writing the script after they wrote the art to some sort of plot, because there's no room. Like, look at the second panel there. That dialogue box is so tight, so they have to get like the story out quick. They don't have a lot of pages allocated to it.
Yeah. Well, at least this story is the scan's better than the Namor story.
True. This one's visual, at least.
Yeah. Arriving in New York, he retires to his apartment. Meanwhile, placing Electro by his side, fully ready for instant action, he telephones an employment agency. Please send me a dozen husky, intelligent young men. I want only those of courage and good character. Now, back then, at least from the, even though yes, you did have the seedy side of society, as it were, you had a call like that to a hotel room. Now granted, they probably weren't thinking or trying to give the impression of anything like lewd, lascivious, or insidious. But you could argue that some people might take it as such.
Right. Well, especially like if it was taken through the lens of today, somebody's going, yeah, something's up. Something's up.
Yeah. The applicants arrive and are interviewed individually. Soon, the professor has selected. Yeah, you see that one was a little tricky because of where they put the hyphen there.
Yep.
Selected 12 that measure up to his high standards. Men, I want you as my private operatives. Morning with me, working with me and Electro towards the banishment of crime and evil. Banishment of crime and evil. What a statement there, huh? You don't see,
He's
you don't
got an
see that
objective.
phrasing too much anymore today, do you?
Heck no.
In fact, people would say that if you were to say that, it's kind of like what I've talked about a lot with current times, right? How we seem to be in a time that was prophesied in Isaiah 6:9, a time of wrong will be called right and right will be called wrong, right?
Yeah, if you came out and said that, they'd say, "Oh, you're evil for saying what's evil. You're judging people." Well, evil is evil, yes, but you can't say that. You're judging somebody. Ah.
Yeah. Your job is fighting the evil powers of the underworld, relieving the suffering of the unfortunates wherever you see it possible, and to work together with the forces of law and order. I am a wealthy man, and my resources are at your disposal, as I see fit, and you need not be afraid of any undertaking for good, because the mighty power of Electro is at your instant call. And so Professor Zog here reminds me a little bit of?
Who?
He actually reminds me of a couple of characters that would come later. Professor X of the X-Men,
right?
And Dr. Niles Calder of Doom Patrol.
Oh yeah.
There's because with Professor X, even before he discovered his mutant powers, he came from money, right? His mother was wealthy, and then Niles Calder was the one who kind of brought some superhumans together to go out and do much of the same thing that Professor Zog here is doing. So
right.
I don't know. This might be one of the early archetypes that was possibly used to influence characters like Professor Xavier and now Dr. Calder of the Doom Patrol. So, but you agreed there, right? That you could see those elements here?
Oh yeah, it's almost like they're all drawn from like a similar vein of thought.
And now
the teacher, the master.
Take a look at Zog there too. Take a look at it. We were talking about it earlier. At least there are aspects you could argue some facial structure is similar to that of Calder as well.
Yeah.
I'm not an art expert, but again, just something I just noticed there. Zog supplies each of the operatives with a tiny wireless telephone apparatus by which they are able to call him at a moment's notice and secure the mighty help of Electro. Okay, maybe it's just the way they drew those particular
pieces
devices there, but they kind of actually remind me of I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but it's what babies suck on.
Oh, pacifiers.
Pacifiers. Thank you.
Yeah, they kind of have that look.
They kind of look like pacifiers. All right. Whenever you need my assistance, just press the button and speak into the tiny mouthpiece. Either I or Mr. Burke, my valet, shall be here at all times, prepared to direct the operations of Electro. So, Electro is just an extension of his will. Then, if you think about it.
Yep.
And so Zog was put into operation. His machine of righteousness. Machine of righteousness. Wow. What a superhero name. Machine of righteousness.
I want one.
Each of his trusty operatives has begun his duty as, quote, messenger of law and order, unquote, and behind their operations awaits Electro, the marvel of the age, ready for anything. At last, I feel my existence on the earth is being justified. Wow, now that's kind of an interesting revelation, isn't it?
That he finally feels justified for being? That's some hardcore self-hate there, man. It took all this to finally justify my existence. Wow, he's worse than Tony Stark in that regard.
Yeah. Dick Gardner, Electro, secret operative number 3, has unearthed a clue to the kidnapping of little Joyce Lovely, diminutive child actress. He overhears the sly conversation of 2 suspicious men in a Chinatown restaurant.
I'm already suspicious.
Listen, Mike. The big boss has a big deal on his hands now. Plenty of dough in it, too. Come on, join up with us. Nothing doing. Kidnapping means the chair. Want no part of it. The 2 men leave the restaurant while Dick trails them at a distance. Now, just to remind everybody, Dick is a diminutive used for the name Richard.
Also, remember that I'm very immature and will laugh every time.
Well, the fact that I have to explain that because of how people use the word today.
Yeah, no, Dick Farmers, right? Was that what it said?
No, Dick Gardner was his name. Dick Gardner.
Oh, yeah, he's a Dick Gardner.
Oh, boy.
I know, I'm a bad man, but I'm
just reminded because I know people today would hear the word Dick and they know exactly where they'd go with it.
Exactly where I went with it. They're going to do the same thing.
So we have to explain to them that yes, Dick was a diminutive for the name Richard, just like Chris for Christopher, Mike for Michael.
You got to imagine the writer didn't know what was going to become of the word or the name Dick, or he would have not used Gardner as the last name.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of the words they used back then that did have different meanings and all that, they probably didn't think 70 years in the future it would have a completely different meaning. I mean, I know you haven't read as many of these comics as I have, but they used the word queer quite a bit back then. But the meaning was very different back then than it is now. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. A lot of things are like that now, yeah.
Yeah. One of the men enters a shabby tenement house while the other continues alone. Pretending to be a hold-up thug, Dick hurriedly wraps a scarf around his face and, slipping behind the unsuspecting gangster, draws his revolver. Stick him up. March ahead into that alley. Reaching the protection of the alley, Dick purposely feigns a brutal manner to impress his captain. Now tell me how to reach the big boss, and what have you done with little Joyce Lovely? But I can't. The boss. Either you tell me, or I'll put a slug in you. Okay, I'll talk. Don't shoot. The boss is Jaime Pazzetto, the weasel. The gang's got the kid up at the deserted roadhouse out of town. The weasel. What a name! What a nickname for a gangster, right?
Yeah, and I gotta say, how come there's always a deserted roadhouse outside of town? Always, always.
Well, you have to remember too. This is 1939. You still had a lot of unincorporated, undeveloped areas. Throughout the United States. Um, there was a lot more rural, natural land than there is now, right?
But it's crazy. A whole house of just deserted. Yep, it's out there.
Get in there and not a peep out of you. They drive off in Dick's Roadster. Now you show me the roadhouse. The boss will kill me for this. Leave him to me, and I'll see that the law goes easy on you. So basically, he'll tell the district attorney, "Yeah, this guy helped me out, so try to be lenient with him." They reach the "quote unquote" purple slipper in a former rendezvous of the underworld, but now deserted. A rendezvous in this place, I think, means meeting place.
Yeah.
Of course, rendezvous in general means meeting, but in this particular context, I think specific meeting place. The gangster, under the point of Dick's gun, edges toward a rear entrance. Okay, what's so funny? I have a feeling.
I'm sorry. The gangster, under the point of Dick's gun, edges around a rear entrance.
Oh boy, yeah. Let me guess.
I'm sorry.
Today, that would be some type of sodomy joke or something.
Yeah, listen to that. Just the way it's written, I'm like, oh shit. Excuse my French.
As we both know, it was not intended that way back in 1939.
In fact, they even illustrated that he's behind him going into the rear of an entrance of a building.
Yeah. But if somebody was to hear that and not see the picture, today, you would know what they would be thinking. I know that's why you're laughing there.
Oh, it cracked me up.
Not a false move out of you, or it'll be your last. The two reach a door. A light shines through the transom. Dick peers through the keyhole. Inside the room, he sees a group of thugs and the little captive. I'll raise you 5 bugs. Dick commands his captive to knock on the door. Who's there? It's me, Toby. Let me in. Unsuspectingly, Jaime Pizzetto opens the door, and Dick crashes in. Shock! What the Toby, ya dirty welcher. I couldn't help it, boss. He had me covered. Ordering Toby to tie up his henchman, and then tying Toby himself, Dick turns to little Joyce Lovely. How do you feel, little girl?
I'm not. No,
What?
That's so funny.
What?
Like they always save little girls, and this is like the time era when Shirley Temple was like a huge hit, and like so like they have the child actress. She's been kidnapped, and look at her. She still has the bow in her hair. Like the kidnappers didn't rough her up, didn't like mistreat her. Apparently, I'm fine. Where's my mommy? No, no. Oh, it's so it reminds me a little bit of the Superman TV show where like the bad guys were never really as bad as real bad guys, you know?
Mhm.
They're just like, yeah, we're here, we have her. We want ransom.
Oh, I'm. Oh. Oh, I'm. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm fine. But where's my mommy? Yeah, a 47-year-old man would have any 47-year-old man would have trouble doing a little girl like that. She looks like what, about 10 maybe there?
Yeah, man. She's little. But she's also a take on like the Shirley Temple prototype or whatever, the stereotypes, the little child actress.
Yeah. Dick
She's
bundles
playing the Little Rascals.
Dick bundles little Joyce in a blanket and takes his leave. You'll see your mother soon now. But unknown to Dick, Toby has managed to wiggle out of his bonds, and without delay unloosens his comrades. We'll get that blasted meddler now. You said it, Chief. Dick is just about to turn his car to the highway when bang! A gun barks from the building, and an excruciating pain sears in his arm. I've been shot in the arm. The car careens out of control and vaults into the ditch. The gangsters soon have Dick covered, and he is thrown into the cellar. We'll get rid of him in the morning. Now, this is another thing that we've talked about before in some previous stories too. They're not going to take care of the and I think Rick was one of the ones who caught it with me too one time. It might have been Rick or Tim who caught it with me, where they get the protagonist captured in a cage. Instead of getting rid of him right away, they say no. We're gonna off him in the morning. We'll give him a whole night to take a chance on him escaping.
Yeah, because they're just too tired. So they're gonna wait till the morning, get up on after a fresh night's rest, then they'll kill him.
Yeah.
Because you don't want a guy dying when he's tired. You want him fresh.
Yeah. You want to make sure he's dead, right?
Yeah, and if he's tired, he might be sleeping, and you don't want to risk that.
Yeah. Professor, send out Electro out to the deserted Purple Slipper Roadhouse on Highway 16. Immediately, Zog complies, and Electro speeds down the highway at over 100 miles an hour. Look at that! Look at those whoosh marks there. Those speed marks there.
It looks like the new Flash movie. That's cool, though.
Yep. Zog sees the Purple Slipper ahead of Electro. Break your way. Break your way through that window. Electro smashes through the window and is in the gangster's midst. Crash! Zog sees the entire room in the reflector. Dispose of those gangsters gently. Electro goes into action. Gangsters fly left and right. Now, Chris, look at that for a moment. What does it look like Electro's doing right there?
It seems he's juggling.
That's what I was thinking too. It looks like he's just juggling the gangsters, right? Juggle the gangsters. Let's juggle the gangsters around. Really get them discombobulated.
It's interesting he didn't just say that though. He said like left and right. You know, like he should have just said as he juggled them.
Yeah. Again, maybe just the writing style of the time.
Yep.
Jaime shoots point blank at the dynamic Iron Man. Ye gods! Bullets don't phase him. Bang! Soon, Elektra has the gangsters unconscious on the floor. Electro break the cellar door and release Operative 3. Electro responds, crash! Dick, free once more, directs Electro to return back to Zog. Return to Professor Zog. He drives quickly to the city with little Joyce. Mr. Electro is wonderful. Yes, neither man or beast can stop him. The happy little girl is returned to the eager arms of her mother, while the police take charge of the criminals. Bless you for returning my child safely to me. I was glad to be of help. Classic exchange for a superhero story, huh? Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Dick returns to Professor Zog's apartment. Well done, Operative 3. You shall be rewarded. But how is the arm? Just a scratch. The doc fixed me up. But this was comparatively easy. Already I have much harder work in store for Electro. The end. What startling adventures await Electro? Don't miss the next thrilling episode in next month's issue.
I'm wondering too, what startling adventures are waiting him.
But you know something, Chris? If you do watch my show every Friday night, you watch the historical comics retrospect, you'll obviously will find out what many of these stories, and here's the original Kazar, not the one. This is the original one. I was going to read this one, but then we got the Trojak story. We'll go through. Let's see. And so, let me just do something here. Wow, we're already past the 2-hour mark. Oh, and I'm sorry, Timothy. I didn't.
Hi, Tim.
And I know we're gonna go a little long tonight because of certain circumstances, but we're only gonna do one more story. I won't do both of them. Even Rick was saying that trying to get to 2 of them, but apparently they came in. Wow, a lot is said here. And then okay, good night. So try to get caught up on some of this. Good night, Rick. Timothy, of course, plugging his book as he's always welcome to do. But Mike, sorry I didn't respond to you earlier. We were in the story there, so I didn't even know you were there. Sorry about that. What up, Chris?
What up?
You're in enough trouble as is. I wonder if he was talking to you.
Must have been. Must have been talking about Diana too.
What? Quote, what? Male escorts? There's not time, man? Sorry, the joke would be funnier if I did not botch it. I guess he was talking about when we were making reference to that one scene with the guy with the gun in the back.
Yeah, the rear entrance with Dick.
Yeah. I am here to banish crime and evil. Now wear this. Now wear this. I know that, but ZOG stands for Zionist Occupational Government, and the character sure looks Arca Nazi. Let's see. Zog means zoo operation gone wrong. Oh boy. Let's see. JR. Look at the hook nose panel. Let's see. Are you saying he is a Jew? And if so, so what? Laugh out loud. I think he might be a closet homosexual. This was 1939. He literally called for husky young men. Laugh out loud, Dick Gardner. Oh boy, all the LGBT jokes. Ah.
Well, Dick Gardner could be straight. He's just a little weird.
Oh no, Dick got jammed up in. Oh boy, they're having fun with this one. You realize they had smut then. Indeed, so much comics were almost banned. The word dick is in Shakespeare. Yeah, but well, that may be true. That may have been a slang that was used more in British. But even back in these days, Dick, back in 1939, Dick was more associated with being a diminutive for Richard than what we think of today.
So Dick was diminutive?
Okay.
I'm messing with you. Don't explain it. I'm only playing.
Okay. I just think it's funny how unintentional it is. Well, it's funny because Chris, actually, before we start, at the beginning of the show, I think you had said something, when we're early on in the Namor story, when you said something in terms of how we're looking at it from a different perspective than was back then.
Yeah, because Namor was like, he had taken the stance of, if a bad guy dies, oh well, he deserved to die. And that was something that a lot of people, at least in my recollection of like documentaries and stuff, they kind of had that attitude. If you were effing around and found out, oh well, they were kind of like,
well, that's not what I was talking about though. What I was talking about how when you mentioned to Rick how we're looking at it from a jaded perspective.
Yeah.
That's more what I was going for here. We're looking at it from a different perspective. But I've made allusions to that throughout, right?
Well, that was part of the same statement because that was what I was talking about too. It's the if someone says that today, it's terrible. You can't say people just let the bad die. You have to rehabilitate and rehab, and Rick looks at it too, and he sees like a villain. But I'm thinking maybe back then, the public was a little bit more open to that kind of justice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. Tim quoting here: "Quick, men, to the deserted roadhouse. They won't find us there." Let's see. For Pete's sake, Jaime is a derogatory. Is derogatory for Jewish man. Actually, I didn't even. First off, I didn't know that. But also, Jaime Pizzotti, I think was the guy's name. So he was Italian as well. Mafioso. Which is why it's funny. Tim was responding to. The rear entrance was a tight fit. Here we go with the.
Hey, they wrote it, not us. The writers of this comic knew we would read this out 75 years later.
Wow, dude, why do you think they didn't mean gay innuendo? Well, in that one scene in that one scene that we're talking about, they actually did show him. He had the it was described. They were entering a rear entrance. The guy had the gun in the guy's back. Okay, but I just don't think there was as much of that out there at that time as is today. There might have been some, but I don't think it was quite as rampant. And I don't really think there were a lot of people who took it as that, back then. Today, there are a lot more people who would take it as that. A lot of people today, and that again, going back to what Chris was saying here with the jaded perspective comment, right? A lot of people today would take it as some kind of gay innuendo. But back then, I don't believe it was being perceived as a gay innuendo, or not as widely spread, believed to be a gay innuendo. Especially when you have the actual art actually depicting what's being said. So, let's see. Timothy responded to JR. It's funny because of just how the execution of this story reads. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would kind of agree. Stranger danger, in quotes there. Let's see. All these great jokes, and he had not read our jokes.
Yeah, we missed them all.
Well, only because I was in the midst of reading the story. I didn't even know you were there, Tim, and I apologize for that. You know that I will come back and read the comments once I learn them. You have absolutely no evidence what people thought back then. Congress held hearings on too much smut, innuendo, and comment. That didn't come about till the late 40s, early 50s. Okay, I know you're talking about McCarthyism there, JR. And yes, there was, but it wasn't just, in fact, there was, and of course there was the gay innuendo because of Batman and Robin, but I still don't believe at this point in time in 1939 people were really thinking that way about comics at all. If there was supposed gay innuendo, it was just so subtle that I don't think as many people picked up on it as they would have today. Okay. This was a far more innocent time. 1939 was a far more innocent time in many ways than is today, despite the fact that we were in the midst of or towards the end of the Great Depression, entering World War II. Okay. Well, because of Seduction of the Innocent, yeah, right, which came out in 1954. Name more jaded than me. Laugh out loud. You're delusional. It's gay you and I don't agree, but everybody has their opinion. Mystery Science Theater 3000. This comment. Well, yeah, I mean we're looking at it. Yeah. So let me see here. Let's see more of this. And Ashkenaz means European, including Italian Jews. I could not stop laughing the more you read the comment. Yeah, I understand. None. None. No, not McCarthy. Seduction of the Innocent led to congressional hearings on gay and well, yeah, but it was also McCarthyism was also part of that. It was more of a movement against some of these more of the time, the more liberal ideas. Okay, yeah, it may not be as directly linked to McCarthyism, but a lot of the same mindset there. Let's see. Dang it, Chris.
Look what I started.
Mike. What was that, Chris?
I said, look what I started.
Yeah. Murder rates, violent crime rates, robbery rates were all astonishingly higher than. Well, again, it was also a time when we were, coming out of the Great Depression. Prohibition was also a thing at the time. These were part of the realities of the world, but let's see. It was not some innocent time. Again, as compared to today, I would disagree with you. I think overall, I'm not saying there was no darkness or no dark side, but as compared to today, it was a lot more innocent. Kids were more allowed to be kids back then. Okay, and as you would call them, these gay innuendos were a lot more subtle than they are now. To where I don't think as many many people picked up on it, the way that you think they have there, JR. Nah, JR, the bigger picture was Congress was looking into the connection between juvenile delinquency and college, which was true. And of course, some of the things that they looked at included exposure to what they called at the time sexual deviancy, juvenile delinquency, waywardness, disrespectful behaviors. Let's see. And then Timothy responded, JR, I think he means the American mindset. Mm-hmm. Seduction of the innocent was literally men seducing boys. Well, it wasn't just that. Okay, because a lot of what came out of that, yes, okay, so some of the things I referenced often. Okay, yeah, there was they accused Batman and Robin of the being a gay couple. Okay, they accused Wonder Woman of being into bondage fetishism, which was somewhat true. But again, the way it was presented, and then Superman was looked at as a fascist. Now, fascism has nothing to do with sex. Okay, that's something entirely different. Okay, but a lot of what really they were going after in that was a lot more of the violent crime stuff. The stuff that really got, granted, superheroes were hit pretty hard too, but a lot of the stuff that they were going after were the horror and crime noir stuff. The stuff of a lot of like blood and gore and stuff. And you can tell this by what they, like them like saying, okay, you can't have monsters in comics anymore. You can't depict monsters. You can't depict not just graphic sexual things, but graphically violent scenes. That's more what they were going after. The sexual stuff was more part of that, but it was more the graphic violence they were really going on as opposed to the graphic sexual stuff. Let's see. Is in the title. is in the title. Oh, seduction. Well, that could mean a bunch of different things, though. Seduction just doesn't mean sexual. When you seduce somebody, it means that you convince them to come to your ways. Okay. Now, granted, the general connotation of the word seduction tends to be sexual in nature, but you can be seduced to crime. You can be seduced to commit robbery. You can be seduced to commit assault, and it has no actual sexual connotation. To seduce somebody just simply means to convince them to do something, that they normally wouldn't do.
Heck, a movie trailer can seduce you into going to see the movie.
Right. So, let's see. Have you read the book? What evidence do you have for thinking that? For thinking what? That it was a lot more innocent time? A lot more innocent time than it is now? I think the overall circumstances, the fact that people were more concerned about, making sure they didn't get tossed down the street, and I've seen enough comics to where, I remember even before I started doing this, right, this little project, I read quite a bit of the older DC stuff. I looked through a lot of the older DC stuff, and I wouldn't say that there was as much innuendo in it. I mean, even here, you made the commentary from our perspective here in 2023. We look back on it and we may think of it as gay innuendo, but I don't think back in those days they were even thinking that, because when you see the art and you see the art and the words, the art directly explains it. Nobody, I don't think nobody was really thinking, oh, he's gonna stick that gun, some up the,
up the rear entrance.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Yes, I've read parts of it. And then I guess Tim shared a link to the Wikipedia page for Seduction of the Innocent. EC Comics was the main target, which I've heard that too. Film noir movies have gay coded villains in them, from Maltese Falcon, before and after. Yes, but again, I don't think it was as overt as you want people to believe there, JR. First off, with the Hays Code and all that, they couldn't be that overt about it. I think unless you're predisposed to that type of thinking, unless you automatically think that everything you see, there's something got to be sexual about it, I don't think some of these scenes that they're out here, at least in these older comics, I think most people wouldn't think anything sexual. I don't think people of that time would have even thought anything sexual about it. Let's see. Seduction of the Innocent cited overt or covert depictions of violence, sex, drug use, and other adult fare within crime comics, a term Worthen used too. Crime comics, which has a direct link to these things being crimes. So there's that aspect too. That, these things are, criminal. a term were then used to describe not only the popular gangster murder-oriented titles of the time, but superhero and horror comics as well. But superhero and horror comics as well, the book asserted that reading this material encouraged similar behavior in children. Yeah, it's kind of like the argument that they try to use later in the late 80s, early 90s about, you know, video game violence translates to real violence. Right? Yes. Why was 1930s prohibition was an innocent time for people? Because the kids weren't the ones. The kids were out. The kids were out, delivering newspapers. Okay. You weren't broadcasting a lot of these more darker, illicit stuff. It was innocent in a way that it's not like today, where people can, if you go out and get drunk, nobody cares. It's not, they'll go out and get drunk and shout it from the rooftops, and it's okay.
Well, just look at the alphabet people of today, and then go back to those times and look for them back there, and you won't see it. It's so much bolder today than it ever was before, at least in America.
Right. I mean, you could argue that in the parts of Europe it was probably a little more flamboyant, but I think overall in terms of the mindset, it was more of an innocent time as compared to today. Let's see. Comics, especially the crime horror titles pioneered by EC, were not lacking in gruesome images. Wortham reproduced these extensively, pointing out that he saw as recurring morbid themes such as, to be fair, sex scenes were indicated by making or fading to black. Let's see. Covert depiction of sex was because overt depiction of sex was illegal, hence gay and straight sex coding. Again, though, I don't think the average person would have picked up on that. I don't think most people, I think your average everyday American would not have picked up on that. The only people who would have picked up on that, and there were, as Chris mentioned earlier, there were a lot less of those type of people, were the people who were already into that type of thing. We had a much lower population back then. You didn't have as many people, and they weren't as wide open as they are today. I don't think your average person would have picked up on that at all. So that's why it was a much more innocent time as compared to today. Oh God, okay. Prohibition era had more sex workers than now, more murder, higher birth rates by far. Why do you think they didn't have sex and violence? I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying that they didn't maybe on the scale that you're trying to make it sound like they did. I don't think, it wasn't as pronounced, it wasn't as wide open. And I think the average everyday American who is going to work and trying to support their family and making sure their kids got educated the right way, making sure they had the 3 R's mastered, and then go out and get a job and be able to start their own family and work hard and be a productive member of society. You know, I don't think the average American would have thought anything along those lines. You know, um, I don't. As I said, it is more. It was more of an innocent time than than it is now.
Well, if nothing else, at least the media, such as TV, radio, and press, were trying to convey the innocent time, which did infect or affect society to some extent. Like at least there was the serious attempt to maintain the look of the classic nuclear family type idea. Mom, dad, hard work, babies, children, church, everybody's happy. If all this, like all the negative stuff was probably still there, but it was not as it was subdued because the people subdued it, whereas now they're kind of exalting it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the biggest difference.
It's funny, and not that I would discourage this conversation. Obviously, this is a good conversation I think we're having here. Probably better suited for our Sunday panels than for right now, because of course, we're already past 2.5 hours here, and I may have to just, I was hoping to do the other two stories, but maybe we'll do the next ones the next time, because we just got, into this discussion. Because we're already at 2.5, we're already past 2.5 hour mark here. So this is,
is that when my eyes are starting to fade?
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to probably do at this point, in fact, I'll just take this off now, because I don't think we're, I don't think we got, I'm not, as much as I would want it, I want to finish these comments and then start to wrap things out, because we're already past 2.5 hours here. Anyways, Tim, obviously there's a disconnect in America at the time with entertainment versus what America was really like in that period. And I kind of wonder what he means by that.
Oh, I think I know what he means. It's like when I was growing up, right? You had the Brady Bunch, you had Happy Days, you had Eight Is Enough, all these, TV shows and movies that were projecting the American happy family with all that stuff. I lived in a single parent family, a single mom family, and that stuff was always out there saying this is what America was. But I never experienced any of it until I got married myself and started having a family, because my family was broken. And I think what Tim's saying is this stuff was out there, but you didn't see it. What you saw instead was that kind of, some people have that life and a lot of people don't. So there's it depends on what side of the tracks you were raised on. Like
the more wholesome side of it was probably seen more in like the more rural country areas of the country, whereas maybe the more more darker insidious side was seen more in the urban areas. I
imagine it was a lot like it is today. Yeah, but I mean, like the big cities, yeah, it was probably where things were a lot worse. Country is still kind of, I don't want to call it innocent, but it's not as, in general, it's not as extreme.
Yeah, I mean, you still have parts of the country that still hold traditional American values to heart. Even with this very massive movement by the left, in the big cities and all that, trying to force some of these agendas down everybody's throat. Now, Grant, we've gotten more into this than I generally intended. Because obviously, I tend to hope that these, I hope to bring back that certain feel of innocence that was back in these days, and back even in the cartoons that when you go back and watch like the older like older like Warner Brothers cartoons or the MGM cartoons, you see some of those older cartoons. see the more innocent side of things and not the, and I think comics were generally done that way, even back in these days. I mean, not to say you didn't have the darker stories like that, but as I keep saying, I don't think innuendos were quite as much there as JR was trying to make it sound like. I think there was generally a more innocent mindset of that during that whole time period. I think as time's gone on, we kind of lost, in the last, I'd say in the last 70 years or so, we probably have lost a lot of our innocence. 70, 75 years, we've lost a lot of our innocence because we've been, because people keep trying to force certain ideas down everybody's throats that just want to completely eradicate that innocence.
Now, see, Tim, the only thing I would say, Tim is saying,
well, before you answer that, let me get caught up here because keep getting behind here. So by smoking, not making, well, they had more, but when it came to TV shows, they usually showed husbands and wives in separate beds. Yeah, that's true. I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke. And I know that people would probably try to make a joke out of Dick Van Dyke's name as well. Read the comment. That is a good one.
Who decided to put Dick and Dyke together?
I have no idea, but Google murder rates in America in the early 20th century. Google prostitution rates. Yeah, yes. In our 21st century, with our 21st century technology, we probably are a lot more aware of it now than we were then. Back in 1939, not even politicians, not even the rich and famous could sit there, go on a computer, and look stuff up like that. Okay? People wouldn't know what was going on in other countries until 6 months after it happened. So there was more of it. It was more of an innocent time. You're not going to convince me otherwise that it wasn't an innocent time. I'm not saying there was absolutely no darkness. Yes, there were probably quite a few murders, but people didn't know about them, in their everyday lives. It wasn't like today where you'll know something happened within like 2 seconds of it happening. People just simply were going about their business, and you're not going to convince me otherwise that it was not an innocent time. I've seen enough evidence to say that yes, it was more of an innocent time because it wasn't as widespread known. Anyways, I was going to finish these off and give you a chance to respond, Chris, and then I had to respond. The wholesome side was kind of a lie. Jane Austen is sex-coded. Her chapter titles included the sword fight among... I mean, almost... something, JR, it almost sounds like maybe you're sex-coded. It's like you keep trying to make the argument as if you're trying to get us to change our minds about things, and I just don't think that's going to work. I can see how that can be read as an innuendo. Sorry, my net is cutting out. All right, well, see you later if you're leaving us. Let's see. Damn, man, this topic was getting good, especially your comments. Well, Mike, I think that wholesome thing is, to me, is a lie because it doesn't affect truth. I'm not saying that it does or it should, Tim. I just think overall, there wasn't as much a preoccupation with it with the dark side as people want to make it out to be. But that is just me. Yes, thank you for your comments. I do believe in there is a time and a place for everything. Yeah. I am only typing with one finger on my phone and I can't see what I've already written. I'm not necessarily being eloquent. The rich and famous were not as wholesome as you would think in those days. Well, no human being is really as rich and wholesome as we probably as wholesome as we probably think. We all have a dark side. I'm not saying there weren't evil people or anything like that. I just don't think it was as pronounced as it is today.
I have a question.
Well, let me
Do
finish
people-
this up, then go for it. The average
No.
time between American getting married and the birth of their first child was 8 months in the early 20th century. Well, a lot of them were also going out and getting jobs a lot sooner in their lives too. And where'd Chris go? The average time. Okay. Well, JR was expected. That was expected in those days, I think. 8 months. I mean, real rates, premarital sex were more common than virgin marriage. Okay. Now where'd Chris go? I hope he didn't get upset there. Just send him a quick message here. You all right? I was just wanting. You all right? I was just wanting to. I wasn't like. Anyways, usually it was considered shameful. Well, anyways, guys, I want to wrap this up because we're coming close to 3 hours here. Hoping Chris is still here somewhere. I just sent him a message because I just hope he didn't take me doing that as me not wanting to hear what he had to say. I just wanted to get the yeah, I'm not sure if he's okay because said he wanted to ask something. I just wanted to get the comments finished, Tim, and then I was gonna let him speak, but I just sent him a message on Facebook, so hopefully he'll respond. Hopefully he'll come back, but we'll probably try to talk to him afterwards here. Try, if I don't reach him, I'll try to reach him afterwards here. Anyways, we're gonna wrap things up here. Didn't get through as many of the comics I'd hoped tonight, but we on those two particular comics, we really had some big discussions going on. So, but we'll probably try to get the next installments of the ones that I didn't get to the next time or something like that. So, anyways, so today is September 1st, 2023. Let's take a look back at this date in Nietzsche history. 2003, 1999. All right, so without any further ado, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. All right. So first off, we're gonna head back to 1999. On this date, 24 years ago today. This date, 24 years ago today. The fifth and final issue of Mega Dragon and Tiger from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 1999. It was $2.95, the cover price, and 32 pages. All right, so moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. On this date, 20 years ago today, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, Louisiana. The main event saw Goldberg, Maven, and Shawn Michaels defeat three members of the Evolution faction of Randy Orton, Ric Flair, and Triple H. Stacy Keibler and Test defeated Steven Richards and Victoria in a no DQ tag team match. La Resistance defeated Rosie and the Hurricane. Gail Kim and Molly Holly defeated Ivory and Trish Stratus. Christian retained the Intercontinental title over Chris Jericho, and then Johnny Cochran defeated Jerry Lawler in the opening match on the show. So with that, moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche history, as 2003 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. It's also on this date in 2003. Clifford the Big Red Dog debuted on PBS Kids on this, Clifford's Puppy Days. I'm sorry, Clifford's Puppy Days debuted on PBS Kids on this date back in 2003. On this date back in 2003, Clifford's Puppy Days. Clifford's Puppy Days premiered on PBS Kids. Back in 2003. So, anyways, moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. On the next day in Nietzsche history here, moving forward to 2013. On this day in 2013, Leiden Films' Miss Monochrome would premiere on Japanese television. Leiden Films' anime Miss Monochrome would premiere on Japanese television back in 2013, 10 years ago today. So with that, guys, I do thank you for being here tonight. I do appreciate all the likes and shares. It was a good discussion. Probably something we should have had more on the panel show as opposed to here. Whole idea is not to get into these heated discussions during the week because it's just more stressful. It's like to enjoy what was coming out of those periods. Okay. But with that, I thank you guys for being here. We'll be back here on Sunday, of course. Tim, if you're still in there, I'll send you the link Sunday morning if you want to join in on the panel. I'm gonna try to track down Chris here and see if I can talk to him. Hopefully everything was all right. Hopefully I didn't just inadvertently offend him, just because I was trying to get to the comments, get those all done. But I thank you guys for being here, and I hope hope to see you guys back here on Sunday. Bye.